Our gospel passage is about being awake, being ready, being prepared, and knowing that we must be at the least unexpected moment, be ready. I'd like to just speak a little bit about something that happened this past weekend. And for those of you who like sports, this will be very exciting for you. For those of you who don't, just endure with me a little bit. You think you all know that I coach cross-country and track at East Central High School. And this is my 10th year coaching with Coach Cotherman, who's kind of a legend. He's in his 43rd or something, 44th year of coaching for East Central High School. I'm in my 10th. I coached 2 years in Jennings County prior to that. But we have a young man who did something that is really like completely, it's really incomprehensible of what happened this past weekend. So at East Central High School, for cross country, it's 3.1 miles. And there's a top 10 list of the top 10 times that have ever been accomplished by East Central runners. And the top 10 list is dominated by a 42-year-old record. So for 42 years, no one has crowned the top 10. Is held by Rich Henderson, who this year decided that he was going to become a volunteer coach. So our coaching staff went from 2 to 3. And there's a young man on our team, and for those of you who study like virtues and know virtues, there's this great virtue that doesn't get spoken about enough as much as it should be. It's the virtue of magnanimity. It's the virtue by which one strives for greatness. And often it will be, the definition will be like greatness of soul. And it's this belief that God can do great things in me. God can do great things through me. So there's this young man on our team called Braden Hatton, and he's a junior. And I've told him again and again that I'm like, I don't know if I've ever really seen like the virtue of magnanimity like lived out in someone. This kid just believes that like anything is possible and that it's really quite amazing. So anyways, this summer, never had an athlete run as much as the summer. He ran 10 miles every day. Like this is not just like 10 miles a few times a week. He would not go to bed unless he had run 10 miles. And last spring, when the track season ended, I asked, we were looking at the top 10 list, and I said, so Braden, like, where are you going to be next year at the end of the cross-country season? He said, well, I'm going to get the school record. I'm like, well, don't you think we should maybe start with like trying to get like 10th place on the record board, and then maybe 8th place, and then 7th? And he just kind of like shrugged his shoulders. And so anyways, throughout the summer, I kept checking on his training. And then the season began we had our first race in August. And all season, he has been running really, really well. But I'll just tell you, like, he never made 10th place in the top 10 list. And even going into this weekend, he was like 8 seconds off of the top 10 list. But I was talking to him earlier in the week, and he said, well, I'm gonna like get on the board. And I was like, when you say get on the board, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm gonna go for the record. I was like, well, once again, I think you need to be prudent. Like, I think it's one thing to say, like, we didn't get there this year. And so this was the regional race, which is the qualifying race to get to state. And so in his mind is the fact that he wants to get the school record, and he also wants to qualify for state. And to be honest with you, if you take his time of a 10:36, like there really wasn't much of an opportunity that was ever going to happen if you were thinking rationally. And so we show up on the day of, and I sat him down, and I was just like, listen, like, I'm your coach, and I just really need you to listen to me because you've been going out too fast in all of your races, and if you keep doing this, like, you don't have a shot of either qualifying for state or getting on the top 10 list if you keep going out as fast as you have been going. And so we have this conversation, and then the race starts, and the gun shoots, and these are the pack of the most elite runners in the state at this point in the regional, and I'm 400 meters out from the starting line, and he is in 10th place, and I'm just shaking my head going, like, he's not listening to me whatsoever. So it's completely fine. Like, I just need to accept this as his coach. So I see him at the 1,000, and he's in about 11th or 12th place, and he comes across the 1,000 mark way too hot. He gets to the mile, and his mile time is a 4:58. Now, just to let you know, I don't know if you've ever run a mile, but he just ran a 4:58 mile, which is only about, for him, about 10 seconds off his fastest mile time ever during the track season. So I'm just like, okay, this is going to be a disaster. And I see him about 400 meters later, and he has this look on his face that I've never seen before, except at the start of races. But he's a mile into the race, and I'm just like, okay, as his coach, I gotta go. He's going to commit to this, and we're just going to see what happens. He comes across the 2 mile at a 10:05, and let's just say that at that point, you had to be either all in or you're just going to die. So in his mind, every voice is telling him to slow down, to stop. I'm in pain. I'm hurting. And but in his heart, he just very clearly decided to listen to the voice of insanity, which was let's just keep going. So he clocked another mile at 5:20, and he ended up he ended up running a 16:12. And not only did he break the school record, he qualified for state. He was the 6th individual qualifier out of our local regional. And it's this so East Central High School has never, ever, ever put forth a young man in the state championship. Never. There's never, since I think the school was founded in 73, 74, there has never been a young man ever qualify for the state meet. And so this young man qualifies for state and takes, he as I keep saying, he went from 0 to hero. He didn't climb up the top. He literally just was yeah, I'm just going to literally take down all 10 of those records that date back to the 1980s and destroy every single one of them, which is exactly what he did. The crazy thing is that the coaches and I just keep shaking our heads, and I just kind of it's really one of these unbelievable things that you hardly ever see happen. But what every single one of us coaches keep saying is that at the same time, it's not crazy because he had done all the work. He was absolutely prepared for this moment. It just had to be the moment for it to happen. And everything was there. Because the works that he was doing, the training that he was doing, it was all there. And it just happened to be that it was on that day, at that time, when everything counted, when a lot of people buckle under pressure, that he made the choice to say, I'm not going to listen to the voice of reason. I'm going to listen to the voice of insanity, which is keep going, don't give up, and I'm going to do this. And so all week, it's really been just this amazing experience of watching this young man who just kind of floats on cloud 9. And here's the other great thing about it, and I mean this for real. He is the most humble man you would ever, he expects no recognition, it's really one of those, it's out of a movie. In a really ideal sense. But it really does relate to today's gospel, because the reality is what Jesus is saying is put in the work now, because you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know when your test is going to happen, but it is going to happen. All of us are going to die at some point. All of us are going to see the Lord at some point, and the question is whether we are going to be ready. And the way that we make ourselves ready is by continually presenting ourselves as we should in a beautiful way to the Lord, by putting in the work of prayer, of fasting, of adoration, and of silence. And I'm not trying to be a Pelagian and say that this is about us working, but it's about us emptying ourselves of the world. It's about us disposing ourselves and getting our souls ready where they need to be. Because the day of the final competition, the moment is going to happen, and it is at an unknown hour, at an unknown moment. With Braden Hatton, I could have said there were 1,000 other times where it should have happened, but it didn't. But it happened at this moment, at this time, and it really at an unexpected moment, at a time where everybody would say that it couldn't happen because of the pressure and the stress. But nonetheless, for us, it's the same way. We don't know the time, we don't know the moment, but we want to be victorious. And so today, we recommit to that. Today, we keep our eyes focused on the end goal. We keep our eyes focused on the prize. And we allow the saints that have gone before us to inspire us, those who have been ready, those who have proved themselves through fire to be ready for the good things that God has prepared for us. Let's keep our eyes focused on the goal, on the end, and through God's grace, become the saints of his kingdom. Let us stand.